Hello, old friends. It has been forever. I guess it's been about almost a month since I've made a video. I hope you guys had the best holiday season, no matter what you celebrate. It's January now. I can't believe it. I just finished closing out the month, which is I have my notebook of all my information on here. So yeah, December kind of flew by in some aspects. In some aspects, it dragged. As you guys that are loyal viewers know, I had to go out of town the beginning of December, so I didn't get a lot of listings done. And then I came back and tried to hit it hard for like 2 weeks, and then unfortunately I got sick right before Christmas, and then I just gave myself permission to take some time off. So I didn't list for, I think it was like 12 to 14 days in a row. Justin did list some, but I didn't. So, I mean, it definitely weakened our December, but I got a much needed break. So that was great. I didn't want to get into the details at the time, but the reason why I went out of town in December was my sister is 18 months older than me, and she lives out of state. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm very happy to say it's stage 1. She's having a lumpectomy next week, and the doctors are incredibly hopeful. But obviously that kind of put like a downcast, a black cloud, shall we say, over my December. And, that was part of the reason why I was kind of pulling back from videos and things. So now I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things. I'm active on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram and you want to follow me over there, I'm Mrs. Frugal Trash to Cash. But I'm talking about that really been lacking in a schedule. So that's something I've been working on this year. All 4 or 5 days. Is today the 4th? Yeah, I think today's the 4th. All 4 days of the year that we've been in. Just trying to get back into a routine. Our daughter starts college next week, I guess it is, or 2 weeks from, a little less than 2 weeks, I guess. So that'll help get us all into a system. I'm rambling, sorry. Why don't I tell you what this video is about? So I want to go over this year. I want to tell you our top sales on Poshmark. I'm going to talk about the best weight sales, the best sales that came from bins, the best sales that were free items, and then overall, like my best one buy of the year. And then at the end, we're going to go over real numbers and talk about like what we spent this year, what, income we brought in, etc. And talk about how it's down about 15% from last year. All right, let's jump into it. All right, so we'll start off with Poshmark. I'll put a picture of the item up here. So these are the top 10 sales we had on Poshmark. So the first item were these 2 pair of Ariat jeans. We picked these up at a regular Goodwill and paid full price for them, which is kind of odd for us. So we ended up paying $17.98 for the 2 pairs. And when all was said and done, we made a $60 profit. Then sale number 9 were the infamous spiderweb boots. It was just been a couple videos back that I talked about those, but I found them at the bins. They sold for $99, and we made a $72.97 profit. Sale number 8 were these Doc Martin vintage made in England boots. They were picked up at the bins. They sold for $100, and we made a $73.74 profit. Then this awesome American Girl Sage doll. She sold on Poshmark for $97, and we had bought her at a garage sale in a lot of a bunch of American Girl dolls, and we made a $75 profit on her. Up next are these Prada shoes that Justin bought at the bins. They sold for $110, and we made an $84.39 profit. The number 5 sale were these Fry boots. They were new in the package, like in the box. I bought them at a church sale for $15. They sold for $130 and we made an $89 profit. Item number 4 was, I guess, probably the most recent item that I've shown in a video. It was the Pendleton laptop bag. So pretty. Sold for $120 and we made a 93-cent profit. All right, we're going on to the top 3. These Zara skates, they were from much earlier in the year. I showed them in probably one of my first 10 videos, I would say. We picked these Zara skates up for 99 cents at the Salvation Army. And I ended up accepting an offer of $125 and we made a $96.99 profit on them. Number 2 sale was another Pendleton item, but it was a jacket. I bought out someone's like eBay inventory at the beginning of the year. Honestly, it's something that I'll probably never do again because it was so-so, but this was the best item in the group. And I sold this Pendleton jacket for $135 and we made a $98 profit. And my number 1 sale on Poshmark for the year happened, I feel like it was kind of closer to the beginning of the year. I put a lot of, I can't remember how many there were. You'll see it in the picture how many there were, but we had found tons of Coach wallets at the bins. Maybe it was in the springtime. I don't remember. But I ended up putting a lot of them together. They all had come from TJ Maxx, but they were old, like the TJ Maxx stickers on them from years ago, but they hadn't been used. So I sold a lot of them for $150 and we made $118.41 profit. So those are the 10 top Poshmark sales for the year. Now the next category is my favorite because these are items that we sourced for 100% free. I'm looking at the list and all of these were found, okay, well actually 4 of them were found on either Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace for free. And one of them Justin took out of someone's trash. So here they are. Let's see. The number 5 spot goes to this sewing box. This is the second one of these I've had in my career, but they open accordion style and they sell really well. So we paid nothing for it and we made a $102.71 profit. Besides, there's a video all about this, one of my older videos, but we also got a bunch of little people and some other stuff, and we made a killing on all of the stuff that he brought home that day. All right, in the next number 4 spot, a Rollo printer. Yes, someone gave away practically unused Rollo printer on Facebook Marketplace. And he gave Justin an entire bag full of Pokemon cards at the same time that he's just starting to look into listing. But the Rollo printer sold for a $108.52 profit. And right, in the number 3 spot, Encyclopedia Britannica 1980. If you see Encyclopedia Britannicas, look them up. People give them away all the time and they can sell for big money. Other brands of encyclopedias, not so much. Some maybe. Just if you come across encyclopedias, look them up. But the 1980 set sold for a $128.94 profit. And in the number 2 spot is another Encyclopedia Britannica set. This one is from 1987 and it sold for a $137.92 profit. And in the number 1 spot is an item that I can't even tell you much about. So I'm going to turn it over to Justin.
And in the number 1 spot, I found a bike in the garbage that I was driving home from the post office on Garbage Eve. And there was a big pile of stuff close to where we live. And I noticed a bike in the pile. So I was used to ride BMX bikes a lot. I still have a mountain bike, but so I know a little bit about bikes, and it looked interesting to me. It was like an interesting color, so I threw it in the van and I brought it home, and it ended up being a SE racing bike from I think the 90s, and it sold for a profit of 200. Is this the profit?
Yes.
the profit of $214.92.
All right, now Justin's going to go over the 3 top weight sales of the year.
So number 3 are these 2 25-pound Marcy grip weight plates. They sold for $131.97 profit. And the second spot would be these 2 40-pound York round head dumbbells. These are vintage and they sold for $149.81 in profit. And you have to ship these. These are oversized. Well, you have to ship them separately in 2 large flat rate boxes. Okay, and the number 1 would be a pair of York 45-pound round head dumbbells, also vintage, $168.95 profit, and also shipped separately in 2 large flat rate boxes.
So let's talk about the top 10 items that we sourced from the Goodwill outlet, aka the bins, that we sold on eBay this year. So in the number 10 spot, we have these 2 vintage lamps. They look like they were straight out of the set of the Golden Girls. I paid $6.99 each for the bins, which honestly is a little pricey, but we still made a $100.62 profit on them. In the number 9 spot were these power rising Razer stilt jumping things. I do believe our last video was where we showed these. Justin got both of them for $6.99. They were like these things that you strapped on your feet and jumped. They looked really dangerous, but they sold shortly before Christmas for a $113.59 profit. All right, in the number 8 spot, these True Religion hats. I showed these in my first video ever, but Justin found these 2 hats at the bins. They actually sold to 2 separate people, but I'm just going to call them one listing. And we paid like 50 some cents per hat. And when you put the 2 of them together, the profit was $125.67. Definitely those hats are a bolo. The only time we've ever seen them. All right, in the number 7 spot were these vintage ASIC wrestling shoes. These were awesome to find. Wrestling shoes don't weigh much at all. We probably paid no more than $1.50 for them. And we made a $126.70 profit. In the number 6 spot, this Justin sourced right after Christmas last year, so it sold in January, were these 2 Danbury Mint Santa Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they were candle holders. They sold, well, he paid 59 cents each for them at the bins, and we made a $128.49 profit on them. In the number 5 spot was the Carhartt salmon jacket. We were so excited when Justin sourced this at the bins. He just stopped in really quick one day, and this was in a really early on video, and found it, and it sold for $188.23 profit. So it actually sold for well over $200. And in the number 4 spot is another Carhartt jacket. We found this magenta jacket shortly after we found the salmon jacket. Crazy. And that one sold for $207.41 profit. I think it sold for like $249, something like that. In the number 3 spot was like mind-blowing. It was an 8-track tape. The band Rat. Apparently it's very rare. Sold for a $209.96 profit. You know, like crazy. Does that mean you go out and buy every 8-track you see? No, this was just a rare one. All right, in the number 2 spot was a rainbow vacuum. Justin hates cleaning rainbow vacuums. I think I actually cleaned the last few ones we sold, but I love selling rainbow vacuums because they sell for so much. He grabbed this one at the bins for $6.99, plus he got a bunch of extra pieces which we sold separately, but it sold with a $221 profit. And the number 1 item that we sourced at the bins this year and sold It actually sold in 3 separate pieces because I decided to part it out. But it was a Cuisinart, I'll put it up there, professional food processor. This wasn't the normal DLC, I think it's 8 or whatever it is, that we all sell all the time. This was the professional grade huge one. The blade I could not sell because it was the riveted ones that are now recalled because they break off and then you eat pieces of metal, and apparently that's bad. But so I decided to part it out. I sold the lid, the motor, and the work bowl as 3 separate pieces, and each one of those pieces sold for $149.99. And when all was said and done, I made a $367 profit on that one food processor. Absolutely crazy. So exciting. All right, and the last buy of the year that I want to talk about is the box of superhero Dungeons and Dragons comic book kind of things. I don't know what to call it. Here's a picture of the box. We bought this box for $25 at a garage sale, and it had all different books in it and like these like backgrounds for Dungeons and Dragons. Everything in it was in excellent condition. There was, how many pieces in it? Well, I think it was 32 maybe pieces in it. The most expensive thing that sold out of it was a lot of 8 Conan the Barbarian books, and that sold for over $300 and went to the United Kingdom. I sold, I think, one of the Batman books for like $130 some. And then there was a few things, that like the Dungeons and Dragons things all sold for between $34 and like $39 a piece. But that $25 box right now, we stand at an $820 profit, and I still have 3 of the Dungeons and Dragons backgrounds left to sell, and they're all listed for $39.99. So that buy was definitely the buy of the year. All right, now what you've all been waiting for, the numbers. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of how our year turned out. So on Poshmark, we sold 593 items, which is about like an item and a half a day. Our total sales were $14,123. And when all was said and done, Poshmark, deposited into our bank account $10,754.95. Of course, I then had to subtract cost of goods from that number. On eBay, our total income brought in from eBay, and if you know anything about eBay, you know this number is huge because it's before listing fees. So cost of goods, shipping, sales tax, all that stuff is in this number that has to be subtracted. But it was $125,212.83. Just to give you an idea, last year that number was like 140 some thousand, something like that. But we made way less on Poshmark last year. But we sold 3,769 items on eBay. And after you subtract all the fees from eBay and the shipping and the taxes that they collect and stuff like that, we made a $69,790.57 profit. So kind of crazy. We, from our house, our 1,000 square foot house, that our basement is solely and garage as our business, we brought in, bought, processed, cleaned, photographed, listed, packed, and shipped 4,362 items. That is just bonkers to me. And even more exciting, that stuff, a lot of it got saved from the landfill. So it's pretty cool. A few other income sources for the year, pathetic ones. Amazon, on my affiliate links, I made a whopping $54.72. And YouTube, what you're watching right now, I made $528.06 for the year. All right, so something that I'm always very interested in to see over the years is cost of goods. How much money did we spend on these, 4,300 plus items that we made, that we sold in the year? Plus, there's still stuff in our inventory that was purchased out of here, this amount too. but we spent $12,833 this year purchasing items to resell. Shipping costs. Now, this is just for eBay because Poshmark charges the buyer for shipping, but we paid over $28,000 in shipping costs. And really, the buyer paid it because I charge shipping on all my items, but that's a huge amount of money. Fees. This is kind of, we paid $23,000 in fees to sell on eBay. And that also includes the cost of my eBay store, which is $59.95 a month. But I mean, I can't get that kind of exposure anywhere else. So it is what it is. So when all was said and done, when I subtracted, all of the stuff that I talked about, cost of goods, shipping fees, listing fees, supplies, like boxes I had to buy, shipping labels that I had to buy, bubble wrap that I had to buy, all said and done, our net profit is coming, don't quote me on this because, I'm still making sure everything's in, but it's around $63,000, something like that. And it's down about 15% from last year, which is really disheartening because, it's like part of me feels like we worked harder for it this year, but then part of me is like, maybe I really didn't. I don't know. This year's just been different. We had a lot going on at times, so maybe I didn't put in as much time. Maybe it's because of the economy. Maybe it's a combination of both. I don't really know. I think a big difference in our business was like the beginning of last year in 2023, we shifted over to majorly increasing the amount of clothing we sold, purely because it was the only thing that we could source quickly, like the plentifully, is that a word? I don't know, but we could get a lot of clothes to sell. So we switched over to that. But then as we got towards the holiday time, all of a sudden realized that clothes aren't selling around the holidays. So my first 2 years of reselling, when we mainly sold hard goods, the holidays were insane because I was selling so much stuff, but I just didn't have as much hard goods in my inventory this year. We tried to find it, but it was easier to find post-pandemic when everyone had cleaned their houses out. Like the bins were just full of expensive, vintage items, and it's harder for us to find them now. So I think that also plays into why our numbers are down somewhat. But another interesting fact when I analyzed and looked over all the numbers was November was always our busiest month of the year. Like the 3 previous years we've sold, it was so busy. And this year was completely different. What month do you think was the busiest out of the year? I'll give you a minute. March. March was our best month of the year. Then it was March, January, and July, and then November came after it. I can't remember if July or January, which one was first, but those were the best months of the year. So totally crazy to me, not what I expected at all. Every time I think I have this business even slightly figured out, it completely pivots. So just here for the ride, apparently. All right. Well, thank you so very much for coming back to watch me after my almost month-long hiatus. I don't know how often I'll be making videos. I'll try my best to put them up whenever I can. I hope you guys all have the best new year ever, and let's just hope this year is just great for all of us. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.